Hey, what's going on? It's Stokely from Sauce on the Lane. You know, I was just thinking about social engineering. They have a terminology called manufactured consent. Where we use marketing in order to convince people that they like something or that they're for something. It's when you're doing marketing, it's somewhat social engineering. You know what I mean? You make it appear as if a group is for something, and then since we're social animals, we're just gonna fall in line. We're gonna think that, oh well, everybody else is doing it, so I'm gonna do it too. So manufactured consent is one of the facets of social engineering. You think you like something, you don't really. You think you support something, but it wasn't a thought that originally came from you. That's how I interpret it. Most of these things are spoken in what you would call conspiracy theory type of circles, and I don't really entertain much conspiracy theory because most of the things when people are talking about conspiracy theories, these are things that have already happened. These are things that are it's like a locomotive, like it already has momentum. It's already taking place, and it's too late by the time that we're finding out about it. And sometimes it's on a scale where it's beyond our control. So I don't really spend too much energy stressing or have a knee-jerk response about any conspiracy theory that I hear. It's almost like my struggles with erectile dysfunction. Like when I realized that, wait a minute, I have no libido, and my response is not what it used to be. I wanted to have a knee-jerk response, but there was no knee-jerk response that was applicable or warranted. Well, a knee-jerk response was to go to the doctor and say, "Doctor, give me some pills." But that wouldn't have been a sustainable solution, or that wouldn't have been a sustainable solution, or in my opinion, that would have been a move to a subscription model type of lifestyle or health, health, life, quality of life. I have a subscription model, quality of life in this, and like Titus Unlimited said, the guy online, Viagra is not a cure; it's just a treatment. So, and that wouldn't, So, a knee-jerk response is not warranted sometimes to when you find things out. And when you hear conspiracy theories and you can't do anything about it, it triggers your learned helplessness type of programming. So you feel sometimes even more despair than if you didn't hear about it at all. So I think the response to most things is to intellectualize it and give it some time to figure out. Certain things need an immediate response. Like if you're in immediate danger or whatever, you need to pay that bill before they turn your water off or turn your light off or turn your gas off. Those things are kind of immediate. You're bleeding, you need to stop that immediately. Your car is coming, you need to jump out the way. Like things that are, some things are immediate, some things are not really that immediate. Even your health, I think a knee-jerk response is not necessarily warranted, and even when it's, my limited opinion, I'm not trained in psychology or anything, but even a knee-jerk response to self-medication and addiction, it might not work for most people. A cold turkey situation might not work for most people. That's why they put people on methadone and other drugs that kind of take the edge off and slowly woo them into whatever. It's like people who went from cigarettes to to nicotine gum, or people that went from cigarettes to vaping, and some of them use that as a transition. Even though we're finding out that vaping might be just as bad as cigarettes, or maybe even worse. Who knows? Because when the vaping liquids burn, it creates formaldehyde, and that's not good, which creates formic acid, which could affect your eyesight, ultimately. But anyhow, is it the formaldehyde that creates formic acid? No, it's I'm thinking about the fake alcohol. I think it's methanol. When they put methanol in your alcoholic drinks, to for whatever reason, the methanol breaks down into formic acid and formaldehyde, and the formic acid makes you go blind. But formaldehyde isn't such a great thing either in your body. Formaldehyde is a preservative. So anyhow, I'm going off tangent. But thinking about social engineering, I'm not talking about it in the conspiracy perspective, because that's usually where people start talking about it. But that's not what I'm talking about now. Don't really waste my time too much with conspiracies. I like to hear them sometimes, but if there's nothing I can do about it, I don't want to feel all upset about it and feel like I'm helpless, because that's learned helplessness, and then it'll make me inactive and indecisive in other areas of life. So I don't really entertain them too much, and I'm trying to fast from commenting on social media right now, and I'm realizing that it's really helping me to control my mouth in real life. And it's kind of a journey, because I was looking at this book called Positive Thinking, and one of the first things the guy said in the book was basically don't talk so much, don't talk too much. And since I've read that portion of the book, I haven't posted as much entries into the podcast, which I don't know, is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. But I think my past work, which is over 600 episodes at this point, it's still bearing fruit, because I recently just got an interview. I just did an interview. I got the opportunity to do an interview. A publicist reached out to me to do an interview, and I was so humbled. And anyhow, so what I'm talking about, what was I talking about? Okay, so I was talking about social engineering. Anyhow, so they have in the medieval times, or maybe not that long ago, a phenomena called rat torture. So in the how rat torture is done, according to Microsoft Copilot, is they put a rat on somebody's body, right, while they're alive, of course. Put a rat on them, then cover the rat with a can or a metal container. Then heat up the metal container, which I think that the heat from the metal container by itself would probably burn the person, but now I'm thinking about that. You're basically just burning the person. Why would you do something so sick? Anyhow, so the rat torture now, you put the rat on the person's body in a cage or a metal box. Then you heat the metal box. The rat starts to get frustrated, scared, develop a lot of anxiety and get stressed out. So the rat starts to scratch at the softest pathway that it can find, which is through the person's body. And rats are known to be able to dig through concrete. You can look it up. I had some mice in my house, and I was like, wait a minute, how did these these mice get inside here. Okay, wood is not a problem for them. They can fit their selves through whatever hole their head can fit through. You know, and they can eat through concrete. They can dig through concrete. That's wild. Anyhow, that's what I read. I don't know. So the rat starts to dig through the person, and of course that's horrible. That's horrible. That's painful. That's sick. It's just the horror of something, some little creature. I mean, listen, if there's a rat in your house, you get scared. I mean, most people, even there's a rat running on the floor, it's uncomfortable, terrifying, maybe. You gotta call the mouse guy and you say, you know what, do whatever you need to do. Money is no obstacle. Almost, you know what I mean? You feel like they've taken over your space. Sometimes, if you haven't grown up with rats, if you haven't grown up around rats and rodents and lizards and stuff like that, like myself, then you'll probably have a really scared by a rat. Now imagine that rat is now on your stomach or on your chest, and they're heating up this can. The can is burning you, and the rat is biting you because the rat is stressed out. Now, how does that relate to social engineering, in my opinion? So we see a lot of mass deletions and a lot of violence happening. That didn't really, it's not a thing before. Like you would have to probably go back to the mafia days to really see a domestic instance of a mass deletion of people. It's really just like the mafia that would do stuff like that, or some other law enforcement authority, whether it's the military or whatever, which the military is typically not deployed on U.S. soil. That's against certain colonial rules like posse comitatus and stuff like that. So it's mostly criminals like the mafia that would do stuff like that, and it wouldn't, I would think most times it wouldn't be a singular individual carrying these things out. But now we have singular individuals going out, harming people, harming mass groups of people on so many occasions. I think one year when I was paying attention, there were something like I don't want to, this is what I remember, and it might not be correct, maybe 600 mass deletions or 600 school incidents. I think they were, it's one or the other, but either one is horrible. And then we see these things arising again now, and I think that I guess everybody's returning from the pandemic era. Now we're going back to our offices, we're going back to our whatever, but we know that things like marijuana cause schizophrenia. We know that other psychotropic illicit mind-altering drugs can trigger mental illness. But there's also social triggers that can make us become negative and reductionist in our view, in my opinion. And someone may seem like they have it all, together, and you find out that, internally, socially, they don't feel like they belong, or socially they feel pressured, and then now internally they are upset, or they feel driven, or they feel like that rat with the fire on them. They feel like the rat with the fire on them because of social conditions. And then they end up eating through those who are closest to them, or eating through someone like the rat because of those social pressures. Now, you know, some people like a Joe DeCina, the guy who created Spartan Race, would say, well, you know, he would, I don't want to, he would say something like, listen, man, these kids aren't tough enough. They need to go outside and touch grass. They need to go outside and do some exercising and lift up some stuff and do some chores and get physically active. Take responsibility. Learn some responsibility. Get some physical activity. Now, yes, we know that rituals like responsibility build character. We know that exercise, you know, develops stuff like self-control, and it's good for your brain overall. It's good for your brain. Exercise is good for your brain. Right. But exercise isn't gonna prevent you from necessarily being bullied at school, or bullied online, or feel inadequate because of marketing that says, well, you don't look like this, you don't have this, and you're inadequate. You know, all the exercise in the world and all the responsibility, you know, having a dog, you know, having a paper route, whatever, it's not gonna protect you from social, not feeling like you belong socially, maybe through marketing or social media or whatever, or even just as a kid, period, just going to school and stuff like that. You're not with the cool kids or whatever the case may be. Now, I'm not blaming anybody specifically. The only people that are kind of, I can't really blame anybody, because, you know, marketers are trying to sell a product. They put beautiful people out there, make you feel inadequate, so you take action and go buy the product. Social media aggregates, social media algorithms are going to show you things that trigger you, and show you things that bring attention, and show you things that are raunchy, show you things that are beyond your reach, so that you can reach for these things, and you can look at these things, and you can be triggered by these things, and these are your pain points, and you indulge even more into them, so that you can consume more. The more you feel inadequate, the more you consume. So this, or the more you feel upset, the more you consume. When you feel love, you don't consume. When you feel love, you've already been satiated, you've already been filled, you've been completed for the most part. You know, let's talking fantastic Hallmark, De Beers, Hershey's Corporation type of terminology. When you feel love, you're gonna be complete. So they tell you, you buy that jewelry, you're gonna feel love. The person that buys you jewelry is showing you that they love you. The person that buys you a Hallmark card, they're showing you that they love you. The person that buys you the Hershey's chocolate for Valentine's Day, they're showing that they love you. Well, if they love you, they wouldn't give you sweets, right? If they love you, they wouldn't buy blood diamonds that are, you know, a product of conflict. Little kids getting their hands chopped off so that you can have the diamond. You know, maybe they'll get you a card, but they don't have to get you a card. They can just tell you that they love you. But we've tied love to these consumption type items, and in order to sell these products, they've tied love, completion, validation, and being an appreciation to material things. You don't appreciate me unless you buy me material things. That's what the dog whistle of marketing is saying. You're not complete unless you have this material thing. You're not complete. You're not loved unless people buy you material things. Now let's talk fantastical. you're always loved because God gave you life and He gave you the world, gave you everything. It's just that people took it away from you. So people are not really, you gotta stay sucker free. But anyhow, let's get back to it. So when you think about the rat in the can, that's us. We're the rat inside the can. We are being stressed by the news. We're being stressed by every little piece of legislation that comes through. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. You got to pay this tax, you got to pay that tax, you got to pay this tax, you got to pay this fee. Listen, you got to pay congestion pricing to go into the city. You got to pay a toll to get across the bridge. You got to pay a ticket if you go over 25 miles an hour. You got to pay your insurance. You got to pay your car payment. You got to pay the maintenance on it. I mean, the more material you get, the more stress you got, kind of, because the more, you own things, but they own you. Anyhow, that was just one example. So it's always something popping up, something going on that is lighting a fire to the can that you're in. We are the rats. So let's say I'm the rat. And these are external things, external of our body, right? And these external things are affecting our mind. And it's subliminally lighting a fire to our can. It's subliminally lighting a fire to us and stressing us. People are being stressed. In many ways. I don't want to go into every little, idea that's going through my head right now. I could talk for too long. But we are the rat, and the result of it is these mass deletions and the erosion of the family unit. The erosion of the family unit and the turning on each other. We're turning on each other. Just like the rat is biting through the person being tortured, we're biting through each other. So you go to work, you're feeling stressed about work, you come home and you scream at your kids, or you scream at your spouse. Your spouse is stressing you, you scream at the kids. Your spouse is stressing you, you go scream at the co-worker, the subordinate. Maybe you even scream at the boss. You scream at the other driver on the street. They had nothing to do with it. I was just talking to a young man the other day, very wise, about mid-20s. He's saying that, a lot of times when you encounter people, strangers, and they seem to be having a problem with you, and they're having an issue with you, it has nothing to do with you. It's something, they have a pre-existing condition. Something was already going on with them. It has nothing to do with you. That's a dangerous thing that guy's doing. Over there, I'm looking at the guy using ratcheting straps to hold back a whole pillar. And that guy on the bottom is digging under the pillar. Oh my gosh. Anyhow, I'm on the Van Wyck. They're doing construction. Let's get back to it. So the world, a lot of these different inventions and distractions and toys and trinkets and possessions that we've added to ourselves, and people we've added to our networks and such, are adding stressors to our mind covertly, by accident maybe, or no accidents, by side effect of our choices, by side effect of other people's choices, whatever. And we lash out in different ways. And in the same conversation I was having with the young man, he was like, listen, we can't allow other people's negative energy to enter us, because it's not going to help, and it's going to put us in a position where we could be destructive also, and we don't want to continue the destruction. So it's best to stop it right there, and don't be a conduit for negative energy. And I woke up this morning and I opened Instagram, and a young man was saying, I'm just going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly what he's saying, but he's saying don't entertain these demons. Some of these people that you're around, they have a dark cloud over them. They have negative energy, and they want that negative energy wants to enter you and destroy you. So anyhow, that's just one facet of it. Staying away from people is one of my mantras. Staying sucker free is a mantra that I learned from my friend. I think I'm done saying what I wanted to say. The rat torture is just an example of us, the rat, in a can, which is just this manufactured environment that we're in, this man-made environment that we're in, and it has certain social pressures, even aside from your health pressures, because still, again, your gut biome, the drugs, the illicit drugs, the ingredients, the psychotropics, the sugar, all of these things are working on us. I mean, indigenous people. Let's take away all of the mechanized and manufactured civic, city, metropolitan, social media technology, telecommunications. Let's take it all away, and let's go to the indigenous people of maybe the Amazon or the Maasai or the Aborigines. I don't think we hear about Aborigines conducting mass deletions. Their social groups are dependent upon cohesion and collaboration. Now, ours is more dependent upon rugged individualism. Our economy is a consumption economy, and rugged individualism generates more money or more economic activity as individuals rather than as a collective. And I don't know if I said it, but you can melt salt crystals better when they're smaller little units. You can have 1 gram, that's 1 big gram of sugar. 1 gram cube of sugar versus 1 grams of powdered sugar or granulated sugar. It's going to melt faster when you have it. You increase the surface area by putting it into smaller pieces. So we've been fragmented. We're not really operating in a mindset of social collaboration a lot. So we've kind of let go of a lot of the requirements that are needed to get along, between our transition from living with the planet to subduing the planet. Anyhow, what would I suggest? All I could suggest is that try to minimize the things that trigger you. Try to, or the things that even take your attention away and make you inefficient. I was just talking to a coworker. I was saying, doom scrolling is one of my vices. And I'll sit there and this is something that Joe DeCina, the guy who created Spartan Race, also mentioned. He said, while you're sitting there scrolling, a whole bunch of time passed, you didn't accomplish anything. You didn't accomplish anything at all. And that's a significant loss when you think about it. I just saw another post that says 3 hours of doom scrolling is 9 years of your life. Now, I don't know all the calculations they did. It's probably a calculation from like 20 years old to about 70 years old, I guess, or whatever. I really don't know what the calculation was. But 3 hours a day of doom scrolling is 9 years of your life. So, why am I even mentioning that? Oh yeah, I struggle with that. So, I think that things like that need to be reduced. I'm working on cutting back on doom scrolling. Before I was cutting back on doom scrolling, I just eliminated all political content. I filtered out all political content from my feed, because you have that option. I don't want to be triggered. There's not really much I can do about it. When it's time to vote, I'll participate in the elections because of just out of respect to those who have died for the opportunity to vote. So I participate, but I don't need to consume political content. I think that during the pandemic, we spent a lot of time indoors. We spent a lot of time on social media. We spent a lot of time online, and we're still bouncing back from that. But the whole mass deletions and so on and so forth, I think are a result of this mechanized environment that we're in, this unnatural environment, this ruggedly individualistic environment, and the marketing that makes us feel inadequate and not a part of a social, situation. It seems, from my limited understanding, the majority of people who have committed these mass deletions feel socially ostracized, right? Or they feel inadequate, severely inadequate in some kind of way. I don't think the exercise would have helped them. I don't think the exercise would have helped them. I don't think the giving them more responsibilities would have helped them. What would have helped them is disconnecting from unnatural, mechanized, mechanical environment and start to really connect with people. Maybe helping someone, maybe serving someone, maybe serving their community. I think that would have helped them. Maybe looking at, seeing how other people are less fortunate, and seeing how other people are less fortunate, they would realize, well, it's not so bad, and I'm stressing over something that I think I can probably get over. I think one of the marketing, or one of the self-help phrases that was being thrown around a few years ago is "it gets better," because sometimes young people, they feel like in their youth they've accomplished everything and they start to feel despair. But what they need to know is that it gets better. You're going to build your community. You're going to find your community. You're going to find your niche. You're going to find your rhythm. You're going to find, it gets better. There's hope, Religion helps with that also. But I think serving people, helping the less fortunate is one way to do it. But anyway, I'm done talking. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But the rat torture, we're subjected to rat torture. That doesn't mean that you should indulge it or use it as an excuse to do anything wrong to anyone, including yourself. What talking about it should accomplish is us being aware so that we can help ourselves, so we can disconnect from our triggers and disconnect from unhealthy thought patterns, and reduce and manage our stress. You know, manage our stress. You know, one of the ghetto idioms, I think that's, or sayings, is stress can kill you faster than a bullet. Now, that's not totally accurate, but I mean, statistically it's accurate, because it's less likely you're gonna die from gun violence. You're probably more likely to have a reduced health outcome from stress than you are likely to be killed by gun violence. So stress will kill you faster than a bullet. It is accurate if you look at it from the perspective that I just explained. So yeah, we gotta manage our stress, and we don't have to externalize our despair and our anger and all these things. We can channel it into creativity. We can channel it into inspiration. We can channel it if we think positive, you know. If we think positive, inspiration is gonna come. You know, if we do help others, you know, it doesn't matter if they're grateful for it or not. You know, I guess that's where religion pops up, because then it's going to be like, you know, God is going to reward you, because, you know, you just helping people, you might not even see the results of it. They might not even appreciate it, but God appreciates it. Now, that's a great paradigm to use a boogeyman, an invisible force, to help you, because, you know, human beings, we want to, you know, some of us, we like process, we like input and output. So we give an input and we want an output. You know, yeah, okay, I gave you flowers, now I want a kiss. Well, maybe she don't like you. You know, so then you're like, oh, and then you get all angry. No, you gave her the flowers, she didn't give you a kiss. Well, you just feel good that you gave her the flowers, or that she even took it, or maybe she didn't want the flowers. You have a flower now. You give it to yourself. You know, you gotta, I don't know how to explain it from a secular perspective, but nothing is lost, nothing is wasted in the environment. No energy is wasted. I mean, you know, you can waste on an economic, temporal basis. Yes, things can be wasted, but in the sense of sustainability and an infinite time, nothing is wasted. The energy cannot be created or destroyed. Right? So you don't have to get angry about stuff. Channel your mind into creativity. You know, try to find a way to bounce back. Try to find a way to reinvent yourself. Give yourself some time. Give it some time. If it's not an immediate danger, or something that needs to be remedied immediately, then give it some time. Give it some time. It's not that urgent. It's not that immediate. You don't have to knee-jerk response and harm yourself or anybody else. Try to help somebody. Instead of thinking about harming somebody, help somebody. Make the world a better place. It seems like shoveling uphill, but it's listen, they have a thing called strip mining, where it's a way to extract resources like diamonds, gold, all kind of stuff like that. Strip mining, right? So a whole mountain can be destroyed by strip mining. A whole mountain. So don't think that it's impossible. With enough willpower, enough planning, you can, whatever. So even thinking that you're going to save the world, it can be done. You mean it'll be saved a whole 9 billion people. You may not be able to save all of America's 330 million people. I know my indicator works, so why is he behind me? But you'll be able to help maybe 1 or 2 people. And according to Torah, if you save 1 person, you save a nation. So don't think that it's an exercise in futility to want to save the world. It's not an exercise in futility. It's not. So yeah, the rat. I mean, in the case of the rat can't get out of the can. We're not in the can like a rat. Fortunately, we have the ability to see almost these triggers and these things that are stressing us and all this stuff like that. We can see them, We can actually see them. So that helps a lot. It helps that we can see what's going on with us. And I think we should manage our stress, be aware of the triggers, and don't have a knee-jerk response. I'm learning. We're all learning. Don't have to figure it out at one time unless it's immediate danger. Hey, thanks for listening.